The following program is rated MA for a mature adult audience. It contains coarse language.
And welcome to Hungry Beast. Tonight is all about upload. From the internet's carbon footprint to following people we hate on Twitter and the online jihad. But first...
The Japanese have always been at the forefront of fashion. So behold, the modern equivalent of the 1970s mood ring, the Nekomami. The headband reads your brainwaves and makes the cute little ears move to match how you feel. Straight up if you concentrate and down if you're relaxed.
From a device that makes you stand out to one that lets you blend in, German artist Martin Bax has created Pixelhead, a mask that allows its wearer to opt out of recognition by CCTV, paparazzi and roaming Google street cameras. And yeah, a gorilla mask would do the same thing as this cool artwork, but would it be as stylish?
But first, the internet has always been a free and democratic place, a world created by all of us where no piece of content or information has priority over any other, where anyone with a good or bad idea can be heard. That's its strength, right? But is it all about to change?
The internet is... Imagine if your internet service provider decided that from now onwards you could access some sites at full speed and others much slower, and you had no say in which. Or what if they started randomly slowing programs like Skype, a software that lets you make phone calls over the internet? Sounds unfair, right? Well, all this is happening right now. In 2009, Germany's largest mobile telephone company, T-Mobile, blocked Skype to its customers. In Canada, it's common for ISPs to slow down the connections of illegal downloaders. These are just two examples in a war that's being waged over an idea known as net neutrality, and the outcome of this conflict could rewrite the web as we know it. To explain, we have to go behind the shiny screen. This is essentially what the web looks like. A bunch of interconnected computers, that one's yours, and you can knock out any one of these computers and the network still remains. However, these pipes in between the computers, well, they actually belong to people. And of course, by people, I mean giant corporations, Telstra, Optus and so on. And they cost money to run. It was originally understood that all of the content that passes through those tubes does so equally. So your Charlie Sheen memes, your Facebook page, cancer cures, animated tentacle porn, it's all treated equally because the neutral net does not judge.
When network engineers first thought about how to design a network, the one thought that was guiding their decision-making was, we don't know how people will want to use that network. And so they said, because we don't know, we need to build this network in a way that's as general as possible. That means if a new application comes on the market, the only thing that decides whether this application will be successful is what users think about this application. The best application wins.
Now, have a look at your browser. If you've got Google, Facebook, Amazon, eBay open, just stop and think. Once upon a time, they were tiny little startup companies with no powerful backing, and thanks to things like net neutrality and that level playing field, they were allowed to grow and develop. Now, what if an ISP could favour certain sites, deciding which was going to be easy to access and which was just going to be a pain in the ass to use?
And suddenly it's important whether the CEO of your application goes playing golf with the CEO of the telephone company.
The problem begins with the USA's web usage. See, Australia has a user pay system. The more you and I download, the higher our monthly bill. But since the early days of the net, the big three US internet providers, AT&T, Comcast and Verizon, have offered unlimited internet deals as standard. Unfortunately, they weren't quite prepared for the advent of peer-to-peer downloading, phone calls over the internet or streaming video on mobile phones. So now they say they're stuck offering big deals for little return. And guess what? They'd like a bit more control over how their pipes are used.
Although the internet was originally funded with public and government dollars and all that, it is not a public utility. Someone's got to pay for all of this stuff to move back and forth. You surrendered the net. We had a public net. We gave it away. Corporations have it.
Not only have ISPs like these guys begun experimenting with slowing down peer-to-peer sharing, reportedly they're also doing big backroom deals with the major content providers, asking them to pay for preferential access to their sites. Now, this may seem like an American issue, but the reality is the net is global. What happens there affects us. Plus, this tilting of the playing field has begun to spread to countries like the UK and Canada, where an ISP named Telus blocked all access to pro-union websites while those unions were striking against the company. There are huge issues for democracy here. I mean, if the rich and powerful can start paying to have their information load faster, what happens to all the other voices? The answer to the net neutrality debate seems to come down to your opinions on what role the government and corporations should play in our lives.
We tend to think that the internet is properly anti-sovereign and that no government should have the right to regulate it. If the government has a role in regulating the internet, then it's reasonable to ask which government and how far does that role extend.
But make no mistake, the web we know is but the foundations of what will come. The choices we make today about the way it's designed, the way we choose to run it, will have repercussions for decades, maybe even centuries.
Information has the right to a level playing field. And so do the people who express information. That said, we also need a network that works. So we have to find technical solutions to these hard problems with a goal that is liberty for everybody forever.
That's great. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Bebo, and I'm an obsolete website.
Hi, Bebo.
Wow, it's been a really long time since anyone said hi to me.
Yeah, I hear that.
Friendster, just give Bebo a chance to talk.
Oh, sorry.
In 2009, I was worth $360 million. Yesterday, I had to sell my car to make rent.
At least you still had the under-12s market. I've lost everything. I've been invited to an event. A bunch of losers sitting around whining. Not attending. Tom! Let it go, mate. Unfriend him.
Sitting down, please.
Oh.
Who's next?
Stuff said. Upload.
If I run, I know that they will shoot. I can see weapons, the bulge of pistols and likely knives under their jackets. Syrian blogger Amina A, who received a midnight visit from security services for posting as an out lesbian on her blog, A Gay Girl in Damascus. Her father angrily defended her and sent them away. 26th of April, 2011.
Each volunteer must post at the minimum 1 rebuttal per week. The webpage of the posting will be saved electronically in a timely manner and be submitted to the Communist Youth League Committee 1 level up. China News Service on the Red Internet Scout campaign, which mobilises young Communist Party members to fight anti-state comments on blogs and social media. 16th of March, 2011.
If you're not paying for it, you're not the customer. You're the product being sold. User Blue Beetle in an online discussion about free social media websites such as Twitter and Facebook. Metafilter.com, 26th of August, 2010.
This is Hungry Beast Upload. Do you ever listen to Shock Jocks just so you can feel angry? Follow people you hate on Twitter? You're not alone. Why are we so compelled to follow people who annoy us, even when we can't stand what they have to say? Monique Schafter investigates.
I often think it's weird how much attention I pay to people I don't like. Especially online. All the crap they post. On Facebook, I'm friends with my schoolyard enemies just to see what they're up to now. I subscribe to Justin Bieber's YouTube channel. So annoying. And I'm always excited when someone like Australian Christian lobby boss Jim Wallace tweets something dumbass about gays or Muslims, like he recently did on Anzac Day.
Just hope that as we remember servicemen and women today, we remember the Australia they fought for. Wasn't gay marriage and Islamic.
Now there's a trifecta: homophobic, bigoted and grammatically incorrect. Douchebag! And apparently I'm not alone in my habits. There's even a term for this behaviour: It's called hate following. The idea that we feel compelled to pay close attention to folks who piss us off, like a Twitter soap opera.
I don't know why they follow you. They just follow you to get outraged. It's like, well, I don't pay any attention. I don't hate follow anyone. I don't pay any attention.
Former Age columnist and comedian Catherine Devaney has stoked the fires of outrage more than once on Twitter. Her outrageous Logie's comment, "I so do hope Bindi Irwin gets laid," earned her stacks of hate followers.
I find it hilarious how people go, oh, there's Catherine Devaney trying to offend us again, or there's Catherine Devaney trying to provoke us again. I'm not. It is just what I think. But it's these kind of furious people who are having a tantrum with reality. They're the ones who are outraged and they get on the blogs or they get on the talkback or they get on the Twitter and start a bit of hating going on.
Social media is tailor-made for it, but it's not like hate following is a new phenomenon. We've loved to hate antagonistic commentators, nasty judges, whiny rappers and talkback radio grumps like Steve Price for years.
It's the argument about watching a car crash when you drive past it. You know you shouldn't. You don't want to slow down and you want to avert your eyes, but there's something in human nature that just means you can't. And some people just get a great joy out of listening to something they're so diagonally opposed to and don't agree with, but they just find it stimulating.
So why do we do it?
When somebody else says what we don't feel like we should say, there can be a moment of relief in that sort of vicarious pleasure in somebody letting go of that enormous labour of keeping yourself under control all of the time.
So I wonder how the hated feel about being hate followed.
We do have a number of people who can't stand us. And I probably should stop myself looking at the Twitter responses while I'm on air, because it doesn't do your confidence a lot of good when, Twitter after Twitter is saying that what you're doing on air at the moment is crap and you should get off.
And do the hate followed hate follow?
In terms of social media commentators, Stephen Mayne from Crikey used to drive me mad. Catherine Devaney drives me mad. And I just don't think that they have a great perspective on the world.
Like you said, that Steve Price is interested in what I have to say. That is so sloppy. That is so lazy. Go out and talk to people and meet people. Don't go, oh, she says interesting things. Why don't I just oppose what she says? I mean, that is just, they call him the poison dwarf.
But there's a good side to all this. Hate following strengthens your own reasoning.
In any democracy, it's really important to have differences aired and explored in the public realm.
When there's black and white arguments, it often becomes better listening. We all go to a dinner party and if everyone agrees, it's pretty boring. If everyone has a good barney, then I think it's a much more interesting night.
If they listen very generously and openly to their opponents, then they will have to come up with stronger arguments themselves.
You have to actually be honest in your opinions. If you don't truly believe it, don't say it.
If you touch a nerve, there's a good reason that nerve is exposed. It's needing to be touched, but it's still very painful. So I do think that outrage seems to carve away what we think is correct and incorrect. No one has the right not to be offended. You don't have to sit there and take it, but offence is just a healthy byproduct of free speech.
I think it's only a good thing to get it out in the open if people feel those kinds of hate feelings. It's better to have them acknowledged and explored and reasoned with than just repressed.
Hey, getting a little surge of anger at someone you hate follow is an awesome adrenaline hit and makes you feel that little bit superior. As Ernest Hemingway so eloquently put it, the beast at the bullfight is the crowd. That's us, folks. We're all guilty of sipping on the haterade now and then.
Meet Anwar al-Awlaki, the radical Islamist dubbed the Bin Laden of the internet for his mastery of digital media. Seen by the US as leader of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, American-born al-Awlaki is a key inspirational figure for homegrown Western terrorists and says jihad is as American as apple pie and as British as afternoon tea. Awlaki spent much of his childhood in his family's native Yemen before returning to America to acquire his 2 degrees. In 1993, he visited Afghanistan, where he claims he trained with the Mujahideen. After university, he served as an imam at several mosques. He was arrested twice during his time in San Diego for soliciting prostitutes and investigated by the FBI for suspected ties to Hamas, Al-Qaeda and the terrorists behind the 1993 World Trade Center and 2000 USS Cole bombings. 2 of the 9/11 hijackers met with Awlaki, and there's evidence he helped them find money and apartments. Awlaki left the US in 2002, lecturing in the UK before moving to Yemen in 2004, where he is now in hiding. For Muslim youths in the West, not fluent in Arabic, Awlaki's videos and blogs speak their language in plain English.
America cannot and will not win. The tables have turned, and there's no rolling back of the worldwide jihad movement.
He also references pop culture. In one YouTube video, Awlaki ridiculed Michael Jackson's death, using it to sell holy war. He broadcasts by video link to England and in 2009 delivered a sermon by phone to Sydney's Lakemba Mosque. Nadal Hassan, the Muslim US Army psychiatrist charged with the Fort Hood shooting in Texas, exchanged emails beforehand with Awlaki seeking religious guidance. Umar Farouk Abdul Muttalib allegedly met with Awlaki before attempting to blow up a Detroit-bound plane. And Faisal Shahzad, who admitted trying to set off a car bomb in Times Square in May 2010, told investigators he was inspired by Awlaki's online lectures. Some Muslim scholars are surprised by Awlaki's profile. He has no formal Islamic training and is not seen as a leader within radical Islamist circles. But his influence over Western converts means the US does take him seriously. In April 2010, after declaring jihad against America binding for every able Muslim, Awlaki became the first American citizen to make the CIA kill list. Earlier this month, he narrowly evaded a drone attack in Yemen, which killed 2 other alleged al-Qaeda militants. Anwar al-Awlaki, using all the new media weapons of the 21st century to wage a medieval war. Osama 2.0.
There was a time when everyone asked Jeeves a question. Now the only question Jeeves gets asked is, how much for a good time, handsome? Jeeves knows the answer, but he doesn't like to give it. Sorry. Oh, God.
The internet has made stars of the most unlikely people. Babies, stoners, beached whales. But as Lewis Hobba found out, the internet can be a harsh mistress.
The #1 video on YouTube is Justin Bieber's Baby. By the end of this year, it'll have had more viewers than the moon landing had in 1969, proving golfing in zero gravity can't compete with singing in zero puberty. But most YouTube sensations are normal people who didn't expect worldwide fame, and when they got it, they realised it wasn't all champagne and double rainbows. Here's why you don't want to be an internet celebrity. You have to deal with trolls. In 2007, the only person not making fun of Britney Spears' mental breakdown was Chris Crocker.
Leave Britney alone!
3 years later, everyone is leaving Britney alone, but Chris's channel still gets over 800 comments a day, and most of them are personal attacks.
Because I will not be a joke!
You lose your privacy. Charlie Bit My Finger is the most successful non-commercial video on YouTube.
Charlie.
If views were people, it would be the 4th largest country in the world. It could be earning the English family up to $590 a day from YouTube ads, but it's forced them to lead a secretive life.
Ow, Charlie! Ow!
The parents say they won't tell anyone where they live or where they're going on holiday in case crazed fans try to find the kids.
Charlie! That really hurt!
You don't make any money. Take Tron Guy.
I will never again be anonymous.
His luminescent suit and svelte physique earned him late show appearances and parodies on South Park.
I saw him on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
But he claims to have only made hundreds of dollars from his surprise success. He thought that was enough to buy his own customised Tron plane, but he was wrong, and he had to sell it on eBay. Even if you do make money, you being mocked by the world isn't worth it. Ghislaine Raza, better known as the Star Wars Kid, is probably the most high-profile victim of cyberbullying. Ghislaine made this video for a school project, but left the tape in the camera. 2 classmates shared it via email, and it spread like the empire across the galaxy. Ghislaine was bullied until he dropped out of school. Diagnosed with depression, he checked into a psychiatric ward. He ended up suing the guys who uploaded the clip for $250,000 and settled out of court. So sure, internet celebrity has its downsides, but if you like being harassed, broke, bullied and forgotten, then get uploading. I am.
How green is your internet? Every second of online video we watch puts 0.2 grams of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Doesn't sound like much, except that every day, YouTube viewers get through 2 billion videos. At a conservative average of 10 seconds each, that's around 4,000 tonnes of CO2. Earth's 44 million computer servers contribute almost 2% of the planet's carbon emissions. That's about the same as the aviation industry or a medium-sized country. Server farms, also known as data centres, consume more than 130 billion kilowatt hours a year, using almost as much energy to cool servers as to power them. Last month, Greenpeace released a report called How Dirty Is Your Data?, which concluded that the tech industry's brownest companies are Apple and Facebook, whose centres rely on coal-based electricity more than those of their rivals. The report ranked Yahoo and Google as the greenest. The big tech companies are concerned about their carbon footprint. The less electricity they burn, the lower their bills. Google and Facebook take up around 10% each of the world's server space. Facebook's newest data centre relies heavily on coal, but is also mixing in wind and solar. Custom built, it can conserve 2.5 million kilowatt hours a year, saving 1,065 tonnes of carbon dioxide. Google's goal is to become carbon neutral. It has created Google Energy, a company that invests in renewable startups, pumping more than $100 million into wind farms, $350 million into solar, and $20 million into Mark and I Power, a company that generates electricity by flying kites, tapping into wind currents at altitudes wind turbines can't reach. But here's the question. With only a quarter of the world's population online, and our current internet use set to quadruple by 2014, there's a good chance any progress made with greening data centres will ultimately be swallowed up by our own appetite for all things digital. My family were always telling me, no, we haven't heard of Google. They had. They all had. Yahoo!
Prayed for. And that's like wishing, I guess. What have I prayed for? Wow. Oh, shit, you know.
Peace in the home, peace in the world.
Pretty out of reach, but it's you can keep dreaming.
Sometimes I prayed about the most ridiculous things, like, please, will you make that person answer the phone? You know, please, God, make them answer the phone.
I prayed for Jesus to become my saviour.
Eternal heaven? Eternal heaven? Yeah.
Ask God to fill me with His Holy Spirit. That thing happened to me, that experience happened to me, being filled with the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues the full bit.
When I was a kid, I prayed that God would amputate my right leg. Without a word of a lie, that was the only thing I ever prayed for when I was a kid.
As a kid, you prayed for a sunny day. That's about it, you know.
I saw a guy on TV once who had an amputated leg, and I thought it looked really, really cool.
Around 2007, I prayed that I could walk again.
I had a motorcycle accident.
Joy every day of my life. That's it, just wanting to love every second of every day of my life.
I was in the spinal care unit for about 3 days and they didn't know if I was paralysed or crippled or what was happening with me. So, yeah, I suppose that's probably the first time that I really prayed for anything.
I've been through quite a bit and about 7 years ago got breast cancer and decided and realised how I had actually created it.
Broke down and thought the only way to get any help was up there, and then realised that the only way to get any help is my own 2 feet.
Half the world's praying. All the religions, praying, and where's it lead to?
I guess it gives me hope, and it makes me believe that maybe there's someone out there, watching, listening.
That's what I've been really praying for more of God's change in my life, so God can work through me. The Bible says that God can work through anyone.
No, my ancestors are always with me, so when I need things, I call for them and then they'll tell me, whether it's right or right, what I have to do.
I give up. Nothing's working. It's really hard. It's too hard. So, yeah, I'll give praying a go.
All right, next.
$50 million. The value of trade secrets removed from Ford Motor Company computers by employee Zhang Dongyu, then passed on to the Beijing Automotive Company. $12,000, the amount he was fined for the crime, along with 70 months incarceration. $543 million. The illegal internet gambling earnings Brisbane man Daniel Zvetkov is alleged to have laundered for clients around the world. He is now in protection in New York State after agreeing to cooperate with authorities to avoid a 70-year jail sentence. $2,265 million. The amount spent by Australian companies advertising online. If current growth continues, the figure will reach $3 billion by next year.
Well, that's another episode of Hungry Beast uploaded to the cloud. As always, you can keep up with us on our website, Facebook and Twitter, or you can send us a letter, like Verity has.
Next week on Hungry Beast, join us in the sandpit for an episode called Play, Pokies, video games and our dictator playmates. Until then, good night.
2011. Revolutions spread across the Middle East and North Africa. But aren't these the same regimes we've been propping up for years?
Here's what that video, like almost all the moral panic around sexting, is telling us. That a teenage girl discovering her sexuality is bad.
Ebling's team took the infrared camera from a PlayStation and created the eye writer, a device which tracks eye movements and translates them into lines on a screen.